A clash is taking place between two hooded figures and celestial beings. The enemy fighter is confident with his team of 4 great spiritual gods. Keeping an ace hidden until the last moment, Shinobu calls forth her level 6 power. A winged female deity named Seraph Gabriel appears, shocking the other man with her high level. Her image is imposing before her allies, possessing a power level humanity has never reached, and he swears, saying, "I will become the strongest being in the world, even if I have to start from level 1. Somewhere in Tokyo, in the past. Shinobu's data in Lvita Online is deleted. Shocked, he asks for it to be repeated to make sure he understood correctly. His adoptive father, Ayumu, an old friend of his late father, explains that he took him and his sister in after their parents died, since they had no remaining relatives. Shinobu says he is grateful for being taken in when they lost their home. With no love, no allowance, and no country, his only support is his younger sister. Until his data was wiped, Shinobu crouches down, staring in disbelief at the login screen on his smartphone, announcing that this was his revenge against the sun. His eyes blink, and as they fully open, he realizes he is in a forest. He looks around, searching for anyone nearby. A voice startles him, and a system window welcomes him to the world of Lvita Online. He discovers that he is inside the world of the online game. He receives his first instruction to register before the tutorial begins. Otherwise, he will be penalized. A glowing orb appears in front of him, indicating the path to the tutorial. The orb's brightness increases intensely, causing him to fall back in fright. Unexpectedly, a skeleton appears, walking right in front of him. This skeleton is an undead knight, and the recommended level is 7. Shinobu impresses by dodging the attack with great ease. Right after, he uses his fire magic on the skeleton, and with his sword, he finishes off the skeleton since it was quite fragile. Defeating the knight allowed Shinobu to level up in the game. Unexpectedly, an undead bird appears and carries him up into the sky, where it drops him, intending for him to die from the fall. Lying on the ground, his last thought was of his sister. Suddenly, he wakes up sitting on the ground, starting the tutorial from scratch again. Even though he restarted a new tutorial, his level remained the same as before. In the middle of the tutorial, he receives a friend request. Upon accepting the request, several recommendations appeared for people who were also starting just now. Through these recommendations, he discovered that Megumi and Ayumu were also in this world. He remembered the conversation he had when Ayumu said that deleting the Lvita account was an act of revenge. Ayumu explains that his mother, Shoko, was his first love, but she paid him no attention, yet he was willing to show her how powerful money was, and that the reason she died was that his father was so poor he couldn't provide her with a good life. Angered by her death, he used his money and influence to force Shinobu's father into debt with shady people. He reveals this because he knows it's the last time they'll see each other, as Shinobu and his sister are moving out. Shinobu became furious, and just as he was about to attack him, his sister arrives at the door, screaming and looking terrified, saying they need to leave because the whole city is on fire. Everyone was scared and didn't know what to do, as they didn't want to die. Unexpectedly, a massive explosion tears through the building, blasting them straight out of the structure. As they fall, the last thing he does is hug his sister, waiting for their death. Just before impact, the game Lvita summons everyone inside. Back in the world of Lvita, he now remembers everything and how he ended up here. Megumi was still hospitalized and had to wait for a timer to hit 0 to wake up in this world. The skeleton tries to catch him off guard, but he is already on alert. He is determined to do whatever it takes to get strong and protect his sister. His level keeps rising rapidly throughout the tutorial, but he misses his old account, which was a summoner class with the strongest beasts in the game. Continuing the tutorial, he stumbles upon a high-difficulty dungeon. A horde of skeletons is revealed before him. Now at a high level, he charges at all the skeletons with immense confidence, climbing the dungeon and defeating everyone who stands in his way, and leveling up at an extremely fast pace. Upon reaching the top, he encounters the immortal king of the undead. With just a single attack from the king, Shinobu is killed instantly and returns to the start of the tutorial. However, he is persistent and will never give up, so he starts doing everything all over again, until he reaches the dungeon's peak to face the immortal king once more. This time, he was prepared for the king's attack and used his advanced magic shield. Seizing an opening, Shinobu moves behind the king and attacks directly at his weak point with his magic. The immortal king counterattacks with such speed that he has no time to dodge. Shinobu is gravely wounded and near death, but he prepares his final attack, using his most powerful magic as his last hope to defeat him. But at the same time, the immortal king strikes Shinobu, causing a massive explosion. And once again, he dies and wakes up in the same place at the start of the tutorial. A notification appears stating he obtained the Cloak of Wisdom of the Immortal King. After thousands of battles, he finally manages to defeat the Immortal King. Thanks to all the monsters he defeated, he reached level 72. He equips the new gear he acquired, and finally completes the tutorial by registering his name. The instant he finishes the tutorial, he is sent to an unknown location. A girl appears and says he was teleported to the Lvita online management office, and that he is the first player to have access to a major new update. In exchange, he will have a special mission that only he can complete. Shinobu's old account couldn't be recovered, but some items can still be restored. The girl, who is an administrator, says there isn't much more she can do, and she initiates the 13 steps of Utopia quest, and Shinobu is transported directly inside the mission dungeon. In this dungeon, he is forced to clear all floors, starting from the first, thanks to the administrator girl who restored part of the lost data. His summons were finally in his inventory, although they were unable to fight. Walking through the dungeon, he sees a goblin sitting down. The goblin spots him and attacks with its sword, but Shinobu manages to dodge in time. Now he needs to be extremely careful because the tutorial is over. If he dies, there are no extra lives. From a long distance, he launches a fireball, but the goblin also dodges the attack. Next, Shinobu uses binding magic with chains and immobilizes the goblin. But this goblin isn't weak like the tutorial monsters and manages to break free, and then rushes at Shinobu with full force. At that moment, Shinobu reacts by using his spell called Rank 3 Magic. His mana was almost depleted after so many magic attacks, which could be a huge problem. He had a potion that fully recovered health, mana, and stamina. After drinking the potion, he attacks with all his magical power, causing a massive explosion, serving as his last hope to win this fight. Shinobu is totally exhausted but manages to defeat this high-level goblin. A notification warns him that his sister Megumi will wake up in 10 months and 23 days, and he moves forward because he needs to get as strong as possible to protect her when she wakes. After some time, 2 children were in the forest hiding from monsters, until one of the ogres found them behind a tree. The girl named Claire was helpless and was grabbed by the ogre to be devoured. The boy named Aaron stood paralyzed, holding a broken sword and screaming for help. Just as she was about to be eaten, the monster's arm was sliced off by someone, and that person was Shinobu, arriving at the perfect instant to save the little girl. He immediately said he wouldn't allow anyone to die to monsters right in front of him. Then he charged at the monster and landed a punch so strong that it destroyed the creature's body, leaving only the legs behind. However, a horde of monsters advanced on Shinobu, and he was happy it was a good time to test his magic. He then unleashed his most powerful 5th-level magic, evaporating everyone around. To make sure they were safe, he used his radar skill to locate nearby enemies, and found other ogres attacking a group of very low-level humans. Shinobu activated his flight magic and headed toward the horde of ogres. Meanwhile, the group of humans was trying to defend themselves, but was being completely slaughtered by the ogres. The girl asked everyone to stay calm since they still had Jacob. Jacob, their leader, remained motionless, just watching everyone die. In disbelief, she asked what he was doing and why he wasn't helping. He replied saying his talent was only worth something while he was alive, and a genius like him couldn't die there, and simply ran away to hide so fast that he disappeared from her sight. With the horde of ogres advancing on her, the girl froze, not knowing what to do. About to die, her last thought was to apologize to Aaron and Claire for being weak. And again, at the right time and place, Shinobu appears blocking the ogre's attack. Totally in shock, she wondered who that boy was and where he had come from. Just encountering a group of ogres was already an abnormal situation. But what this boy was doing to the ogres was even stranger. After many of the ogres had died, the survivors ran away from Shinobu. Once the ogres had been eliminated, Jacob returned and asked who he was. Shinobu replied that he was just an adventurer passing through. There were still some monsters left behind near them. He then used his dragon fire magic to finish them all off at once. Jacob was scared to see someone else using the same magic as him, and he spent his whole life perfecting that magic only to see a rookie doing a much better version now. After casting so many spells, Shinobu realized something. Now everyone there remembers him, and he didn't want to be discovered by other players. He called everyone who was left to come closer, and he used his mind hack magic erasing their memories of him. But Jacob was the only one who didn't forget, and said that was something he would never forget in his life. Being a ruthless guy, he set fire to all the guild warriors, leaving only the girl alive because he wants to use her as his pet. A few days passed and Shinobu ended up arriving at the Adventurers Guild house. He asked how to go about joining the guild. The girl picked up a crystal and said he needed to place his hands on it to show his level. He thought this was a terrible idea because if they found out he was level 80, She would tell everyone, and he would be exposed. Unexpectedly, Jacob appeared right beside him. Shinobu was startled to discover that Jacob was the leader of the guild he almost joined. Trying to leave without being recognized, Jacob ordered him to freeze, and warned that they would have a meeting in his room. Once in the room, Shinobu was curious to know how Jacob still remembered him. The mage Jacob showed his Alexandrite stone, which protects against spells and curses. Shinobu, already impatient, asked what he wanted. Jacob replied that he knew he wanted to stay low profile, and that's why he tried to wipe his memory, but he just wanted to make friends, and commented that he knew what Shinobu's greatest weakness was. With full confidence, Shinobu replied that he could kill him at any moment. The guild master got excited and pulled out a duel contract with the condition that if Shinobu won, he would keep his secret. But if he won, Shinobu would become his slave. Shinobu took the pen and signed the contract without thinking twice. As soon as Shinobu finished signing, they were moved to a battlefield. He appears in a new spot on the map where there is a ruined temple. Mage Jacob holds a stone that allows him to wield power equal to that of the gods. Being the bearer of the artifact, he can use abilities independently of his own skills, summoning supreme mythological beings. Shinobu considers his options for this battle, realizing he can only summon Gabriel immediately. A mage begins his play using a level 4 summoning spell to bring forth beasts like Salamander and the 4 celestial spirit gods. Other creatures appear as well, such as Undine, a giant stone gnome, and winged beings called sylphs. Shinobu observes the beasts, finding it odd that they are high-ranking monsters treated as deities. Jacob challenges him to summon his own creatures for battle, but Shinobu refuses, trying to understand whether Jacob genuinely believes that the 4 great spirits are true supreme beings, which they are not. He contemplates how humans are weak and how all organizations are ruled by divine beings. At the same time, he considers the possibility that a transmigrator may have kept the knowledge of experience points to themselves. Finally, he understands why Lvita has declined over the past 100 years. These beings have transformed the world. Reincarnated individuals can do whatever they want in the game. Unconcerned with the battle, Shinobu says he doesn't have time for this but will take it seriously because Jacob is using paid items. Jacob shouts at the boy to fear his beasts, which he calls gods, declaring that this is a miracle never before seen by humanity. Surrounded by his summons, he claims to have surpassed the gods. With a level 5 summoning spell, Shinobu calls forth the divine emperor of flames, Bahamut. The colossal monster roars, terrifying the mage. Shinobu says he is not done yet and then summons the sea emperor of Leviathan. Other summons follow, an enormous bear, the thunder emperor Indra, and the earth mother goddess Gaia. Before beasts gather beside Shinobu. Laughing in desperation, Jacob states that a level 5 summoning spell is something humans should not be able to perform. Then Shinobu casts a level 6 summoning spell, calling forth the messenger of the heavens, Seraph Gabriel. The angelic figure lands beside her summoner. Jacob opens his mouth in shock, unable to say a word. Seeing this, Shinobu taunts him, asking him to repeat what he had said about humans being unable to summon level 5 beings. Now the boy is powerful and ready for battle. Jacob finds it impossible that a level 6 summoning has taken place. Shinobu tells Gabriel that he missed her, his most powerful summon. Humbly, the Seraph replies that it was an honor to stand by his side once more. The mage knows he has no chance, and that his 4 gods are not strong enough for this fight. Frustrated, he yells, refusing to accept the situation, declaring himself a genius. The beasts initiate an epic battle. Shinobu's monsters are stronger and more powerful, gaining the advantage and defeating their enemies. Horrified, Jacob screams as his 4 spirits are eliminated. Yet he has not given up and claims that he can summon his monsters again. Shinobu shouts for Gabriel, and she immediately obeys her master. Flying swiftly, the Seraph attacks Jacob, snatching the paid items from his hands and breaking them. The mage falls to the ground in disbelief, his equipment destroyed. Defeated, he asks Shinobu if this is the power of Transmigrator and a god. The boy tells him not to confuse him with the gods who have been at an even higher level since the beginning of Lvita. He confesses that he started at level 1 and only climbed by being eliminated repeatedly during the tutorial. Jacob starts laughing, unable to believe what he just heard. Suddenly, the 4 spirits reappear, surprising Shinobu. The beasts approach the mage, who tells them to back off and insists that he is their summoner. The 4 were forcefully summoned due to the paid item, and now that it has been destroyed, it no longer obeyed Jacob's orders. The 4 beasts charge at Jacob and the platform beneath him begins to collapse. The ground crumbles and the mage plummets off the cliff. A message appears, stating that he has been forcibly removed from the battlefield. Several days pass and Shinobu's at the guild. He reads a newspaper article about the disappearance of the guild master and how the city is in turmoil. As a cover-up, they treated it as a sequence of events, claiming that Jacob had lost his mind from excessive studying, leading him to brutally eliminate the soldiers before fleeing. All of this was made possible thanks to Shinobu manipulating the minds of the people in the city with magic. He doesn't feel entirely comfortable about it, admitting that it leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. From the rooftop of a cottage, he watches as the captain reunites with her 2 younger siblings, Aaron and Claire. The siblings embrace joyfully, which makes Shinobu happy to see them reunited and safe. The young man thinks that if he had made a mistake, it could have caused a serious problem, realizing that human malice has no limits. Determined, he sets his sights on becoming even stronger, leveling up, and acquiring new weapons and abilities. He also considers using the secret dungeon that is now available to him. Ready for his next step, he calls for Gabrielle. Asura responds that she is prepared to go wherever he desires. Elsewhere in Lvita, a battle is taking place. A young girl of cat years is severely injured to even speak if she remains standing. A man in a hat asks if she hates him. Determined, she responded that she will eliminate him. The man encourages her, saying that she must hate him to improve to become strong enough to finish him. He tells her that it is still not enough to surpass level 99, that she needs to go beyond the maximum level. His hand is drenched in the red liquid of transmigrator. He makes a vow to eliminate every single one of those beings. Back to Shinobu, the boy reflects on what happened with Mage Jacob. He speaks about how he feels uneasy when someone dies, and Seraph Gabriel tries to console him, arguing that the mage was hostile and deserved his fate as punishment. As part of her nature, Gabriel acknowledges her master as a god, swearing obedience, becoming a relentless combat machine for his protection. Shinobu calls her attention, telling her that she cannot simply eliminate someone. But she replies that the Emi was a pagan and therefore should be eliminated as expected of her master, something Shinobu does not agree with. He states that if she ever intends to do something like that, she must first ask for his permission. She agrees, acknowledging that this is her purpose for existing. Shinobu finds excessive and jokes, saying that if he were to order her to die, she would do it. Without hesitation, Gabrielle simply responds yes. With great willingness, she would do so, finishing by saying that her heart would be crushed, but her body would remain strong, and it would take time for her to perish. Desperate, Shinobu orders her to use recovery magic, and following his will, Gabrielle complies. The two were sitting around a campfire while cooking something. Is surprised by Gabrielle's loyalty, and she says she is devoted not only in battle, but also in cooking and cleaning. Gabrielle adds that she is also available for certain nighttime duties if necessary, leaving him confused. Then she lowers the top of her clothing, prompting the system's warning screen to cover her lack of attire due to the unexpected situation. The specifications of Lvita are not suitable for all ages, so she is unable to proceed with nighttime duties for a 17-year-old boy. Finally, he realizes that the Seraph was completely serious. Only the sound and the crackling fire can be heard as the food cooks. Shinobu thinks about his next step, which is to strengthen his combat power. Despite getting involved in trouble, he at least managed to gather information. Gabrielle asks if they are not already strong enough for battle. He replies that while her strength is reliable, it won't matter much when they face level 99 enemies. If Jacob's story is true and the factions have formed teams controlling powers behind the scenes while maintaining a balance, he worries that this balance may collapse with the upcoming large-scale update and the new level cap. He considers the possibility that this could disrupt the balance of power, and if it happens, war will break out everywhere. Shinobu states that he must acquire combat power to survive, and also remembers that, based on estimates, his sister will arrive in this world in 10 months. Curious, Gabriel asks what he intends to do with such power. He replies that first he will hide, take advantage of being the only one of access to the update, and level up as much as possible. Shinobu acknowledges that solo leveling is inefficient, and Gabriel points out that by hiding from other players, he won't be able to form a party. Therefore, the boy decides that he will make friends with the world's residents. Mr. Raff questions his idea of friendship, considering that Lvita's residents are too weak. But he believes there is a reason why the inhabitants are weak and unaware of the existence of high-ranking divine demons. He concludes that the players must have manipulated information over the last 100 years, preventing the residents from gaining anything. Gabriel understands it's not that the residents are weak, but that they were intentionally kept weak. Shinobu wants to find competent people, like raw gemstones that need polishing, and turn them into his disciples. Ready for his plan, Shinobu prepares to go where he will find humans while also concealing his identity. They arrive at the slave market. The young man says he has little choice since he cannot publicly exploit people, as it would put him at risk. On stage, a slave is being auctioned while May buyers raise their plaques in interest. He finds the place cleaner than he expected, and Gabriel explains that slaves are considered products, so their conditions are carefully evaluated before purchase. A slave approaches them without clothing, and the Seraph comments that her only purpose is to provide love to buyers. Shinobu asks for Gabriel's opinion on who could be his disciple, wanting a different perspective. Following her personal biases, prejudices, and hobbies, she suggests that a boy around 10 years old would be a good choice. Shinobu chuckles, teasing that she likes cute little boys, and Gabriel defends herself, saying it was just a hypothetical answer. The boy and decide that he would choose for himself. As they walk through the market, something catches Gabriel's attention. She points out an area used for storing materials, and the boy asks her to wait. A defenseless and injured girl is lying on the ground, while one of the merchants yells, demanding to know how she got there. He calls her trash that cannot be sold and orders that she be removed from the market. The girl utters a few words in an unfamiliar language. The man raises his fist, preparing to hit her, saying that she won't bother customers anymore. As fast as lightning, Shinobu grabs the man's wrist, shocking him as he demands to know what the boy is doing. With a smirk, Shinobu replies that he is just a lost customer. The merchant's mood shifts, suddenly eager to know what kind of customer he is. Shinobu asks if the girl is for sale and the man refuses, saying she was probably planning to escape. Still, Shinobu repeats the question and the man rudely insists that the girl is worthless. Checking her status, Shinobu sees that, aside from being level 1, her stats are extremely low and in terrible condition. The young man wants to know how she ended up like this, and the merchant says that the girl was already in this condition when they found her, and that, besides being rude, she would die from illness. Shinobu crouches beside the girl, who, frightened, backs away and growls like a beast at him. He realizes that she is on the verge of death, but looking into her eyes, he sees a strong will, not wanting to give up, just like him. He thinks about how similar they are and how he refused to give up, even after experiencing the sensations of being eliminated multiple times. Shinobu recalls losing his parents and that Megumi was the same age as this girl. Protectively, he embraces her and then asks how much it would cost to buy her because he saw himself reflected in the depths of her eyes. In a not-so-distant past, she begins to remember what her wife was like before ending up in the gutter. The pointy-eared girl introduces herself as Alice Cecil, 15 years old. Born into the tat-eared tribe in the great forest of Skafaksh, she came from a family of guardians who ruled the land and were battle mages deep within the region. She was born during a time when her parents were regarded as exceptional magicians, and because of this, great expectations were placed on her abilities. Because of this, at 14 years old, she left her village to study magic at the Imperial Academy. In the Lilik Empire, beastmen are discriminated against and natives are often criticized behind their backs, making her prefer the countryside over the city. But at least she was living a normal school life surrounded by friends. Everything changed when the mage's rite of passage arrived. The ritual where one forms a contract with spirits. At the time she was 15 and felt that her mind was not yet mature. The 4 great spiritual gods were summoned so she to form a Type 4 contract allowing her to use magic. However, the 4 refused to grant her power, and because of this, she was labeled incompetent, becoming the laughingstock of the school. Despite the constant ridicule and being called a savage at times, Alice endured, until one day a girl made that same joke, and for the first time, Alice struck someone in a fit of rage. Alice was furious at people mocking where she came from, especially when everyone had paid for school and celebrated their farewell parties. As a result, the bullying became even worse, and she fell into deeper despair. Before the holidays, Alice was called to the headmaster's office, where she received special leave along with a suggestion to return home and drop out of the academy. And after deciding to go back, she worried about what her parents would think of her failing to become a mage. Drying her tears, Alice convinced herself she would be welcomed home and decided she would apologize to them for disappointing them. At the very least, she could still be a guardian of the forest, but when she arrived, everything was in flames and the air reeked of blood. Terrified, she watched as the entire place was destroyed by fire, people being consumed by the flames. Screaming for her parents, Alice ran toward them, but she collapsed to the ground amid the rubble, a vision of her happy farewell flashing before her eyes. Behind her, a man in a hat appeared, pointing his hand toward her. A dark matter sphere of energy appeared, Pandora, a level 5 spell. Alice was struck by the magic, collapsing to the ground as her body burned, choked, and writhed in pain. The man explained that he had placed a magical seal on her, inflicting her with a variety of negative status effects, lowering her levels and bringing disease and chaos to her body. Smiling, the man asked, "Does your heart hurt?" Even more terrified, she asked if he was the one who eliminated her parents and everyone in the village, and with a malicious smile, he confirmed it. He won't ever say that she hated him and continued saying he could have easily destroyed the entire village simply because he was just that strong. The man grabbed Alice by the arm and called her weaks, saying that she didn't understand anything now, he just wanted her to hate him, so she could use that as strength. Finally, he declared that he would sell her to the slave market, and because he had planted the seed of hatred, she would become a worker of love. Once again, he told her that she would hate him so much that she would become strong, escape, and eventually return to fight him if she survived. Weak and lying on the ground, Alice vowed never to forgive him for everything he had done and asked for his name at the very least. He responded that it depended on whether she would live or die, adding that he always leaves a farewell gift for those heading to the underworld and had long since discarded his name. But people called him the God Slayer, which he liked as it was the name of the one who would one day eliminate all transmigrators. Alice threatens to eliminate him, which makes him happy, and he says he looks forward to facing her when she becomes a high-level warrior. Angrily, she shouts that she will take revenge and put an end to his life. Back in the present, Alice, dirty and wounded in the slave market, opens her eyes to see Shinobu and the merchant. Shinobu asks Gabriel how long the healing will take, and the seraph responds that it will take 3 seconds. Alice's eyes close. Gabriel uses her healing power, Seraph's blessing. Alice awakens and looks at her healed body. She then looks at Gabriel, seeing the angel, and asks if she has died. Shinobu responds that she is still alive and that he will take her to a safe place, but she can go if she wishes. He says that he's currently looking for a disciple and, if extending his hand, says that if she wants to become stronger, she can go with him. The girl's a bit scared, but the memory of the girl's laughter gives her the courage to take his hand and stand up. Shinobu says he will be waiting outside and counts on Gabriel to take care of the girl and leave the two alone. Alice thinks about what the God Slayer said regarding what kind of slave she would be when bought. She reacts negatively when Gabriel tries to remove her clothes, so the seraph tries to reassure her, saying she has new clothes. The two girls take a bath and the seraph helps Alice wash the dirt from her body. The girl notices that the petrification poison has disappeared from her body along with all her wounds and even childhood scars. Alice then thanks her for the healing and Gabriel tells her to thank Shinobu, as he was the one who asked how long it would take to heal her. Even so, the girl thanks her for what she did, and the seraph said that she was just following a young mage's orders, clean and dressed in new clothes, but to meet Shinobu. He tells them to follow him, and Alice once again remembers what the God Slayer told her. However, her expression changes as she becomes emotional and hungry upon seeing the feast on the table, and Shinobu worries about her. The girl asks if she is a slave, and if she will be allowed to stay with her master. Alice also asks about the slave crest on her body, which has not yet been removed, and he responds that they will break the spell. The seraph apologizes for overlooking it and uses magic to remove the mark. Happy, the girl explains that it is a lost magic from 100 years ago, and the boy says that it can only be removed either by oath or blood contract. Shinobu rejoices, saying that she is no longer a slave and can eat whatever she wants. She says the boy has magical talent and does not understand why she was bought since she is incapable of doing anything, to which he responds that he wants strong allies and disciples, and that he did not buy her with the intention of making her a slave. With this sad look, she apologizes and says she took his hand to be saved, but that she has no qualifications, and that it is difficult to become strong because she is incompetent. After the banquet, Shinobu takes the two to a place far from the city at night. Worried, Alice asks if they are on a journey, and he says they are returning to base so that no one will see the magic. The mage's scarf glows, and he casts 3rd level flight, making the girl fly. He tells her to close her eyes if she's afraid and then casts 4th level gravity disable. The three float, and seeing the whole city, Alice is surprised to be above the clouds. The mage asks if she is scared, and she denies it, saying that the landscape is beautiful. Alice asks if he is a god since an archangel follows him. This makes him laugh, and he says he is just a human, but Gabriel calls him a god. The girl says that a normal person would not be able to use 4th level magic so easily, and that she does not understand why he wants her as a disciple. Shinobu asks if she knows that the world is round, and she says she thought it was flat like a map. He asks her to observe the curve in the edge of the world. Pointing upwards, he shows her other things such as the dark space above the clouds and explains about the landscapes that cannot be seen. Shinobu says that the girl calls herself incompetent, but she still does not know many things, so she cannot be certain of that. With tears in her eyes, she listens to the boy's sweet words. The young man says that she was surprised every time, and because of that, she won't be able to survive, so she must be surprised one last time. She asks what could be more surprising than the world he is showing her. Shinobu says that in the game it was easier to go back and forth with a command that activates 5th level dimensional orbit. A powerful sword is conjured and a girl tries to pretend she is not surprised by it. The young man says that he does not want to show just the sword, then swings it at the sky, opening a dimensional rift in the sky. Alice is shocked, wanting to know what it is, and then she sees the celestial palace Izanik, the humble home of Shinobu. With wide eyes, the girl bursts with emotion and amazement. The place also serves as a home for Shinobu's summoned beasts. The three walk through the palace, with Alice following behind, looking at awe at every detail of the house. Gabriel asks what the young man will do and if he would like to meet the generals, the level 6 summoned beasts. But Shinobu refuses, saying he will do that later because he will first train Alice. The girl looks surprised as he says he will set up special training for her, as she is still at level 1. She asks if he is going to train her and what he wants her to do. Shinobu says that he wants her to first form a pact, and Alice does not understand. The young man asks about the 4 great spirits that she could not form a contract with, and she confirms, saying it is because she's incompetent. But Shinobu denies that and asks her to explain the concepts of levels. First, she explains that soul renting increases by stealing power from a defeated opponent, and the level is the numerical representation of soul ranking. Since she could not form a contract, she does not have a blessing to raise her status. As the level rises, other abilities grow with spiritual support, but even if the level increases, the status growth is minimal. Shinobu agrees but says that as a summoner, she should understand that he uses level 5 and higher gods. He says he will summon some beings and that it was a good decision for her not to have made the contract because he finds the 4 great spirits disgusting. The girl is surprised while listening and Shinobu tells her to forget the common sense she learned at the academy. When the summoning platform, the image of celestial beasts appears. The girl observes the divine level 5 beings who ask if she is the one who wants to form a contract with them. One of them explains that their blessing is powerful and if her vessel is weak, it will break upon receiving it. Then the beast asks if she still wants to form a pact. Alice thinks about how she could not even contract the 4 great spirits, and that forming a pact with these beings could result in her elimination. But she is determined, having no choice but to move forward. With confidence, she says she wishes to form a pact. The beasts are the flame dragon god Bahamut, the thunder emperor Indra, the sea emperor Leviathan, and the mother earth goddess Gaia. One of the beasts says that if she has the talent to receive their blessing, they will make a pact with her. Alice prepares to receive the divine power and feels something enormous and powerful inside her, as if her body is about to break. Gabriel asks Shinobu if the girl will be okay. He wants to know if she is worried. She says she is worried about what he is doing, and she asks what his reasoning was for recommending the advanced beings for contract. Shinobu says that she could not form the pact that others could because she is incompetent. He speaks about how the inhabitants have been weakened by the transmigrators and that they could only form contracts with the 4 great spirits, but that there are exceptions to everything, and that a talented person who managed to avoid the scheme would appear incompetent. And because of that, it is impossible to form a divine protection contract with a superior opponent, whether human or spirit. Alice is in a place like the bottom of the sea, lying down while some things are holding her in place. She thinks she has been eliminated, and the image of her family appears in her memories. The girl starts to move, saying that she cannot die because she needs to eliminate the man who destroyed her village. She frees herself from the things holding her and asks the gods to lend her their strength. Meanwhile, Shinobu says that she has talent comparable to that of God. Alice is back on the summoning platform. Shinobu announces that the pact is complete. The girl stands up and runs to hug the mage, crying as she says that she did it. Ruffling his hair, the boy says that this is to be expected from his disciple. On the screen, Alice's status appears, showing the beasts and her qualification for the level 5 pact bonus. On the ground, she says she feels relieved and that she wants to take a bath and relax. But Shinobu says that the training has only just begun, leaving her shocked. He says that now they will begin leveling up. Alice wants to know if it is necessary, and in response, he tells her that it is time for her level up. Even though she understands, she says she is sweating because of the pact, but Shinobu doesn't care, saying it's nothing special. And by showing his magical staff, he makes her forget her feelings in the moment. Shinobu knows she is tired but asks her to focus so she does not make a mistake and end up getting hurt. The mage asks if she has ever used magic, and Alice says only domestic and first level magic, so he will control the magic for her. The staff glows, and he explained that he will place power into her and the object, asking her not to move so she can release the magic. Shinobu asks her to look up as that will be her target. The girl's eyes widen as she sees a high-level calamity monster. He explains that she will use magic to defeat the dragon if she is shocked, since only mages and mags can do that. Alice is surprised that she will do this alone, and Shinobu tells her to believe in him. Announcing that he will channel the magic with full confidence, he invokes 5th level fire magic. The fire type which he is fired at the creature, exploding in the sky and shattering to pieces. Alice is extremely surprised, finding all of it incredible. Shinobu shows the status screen, but she does not understand what he wants her to see and says she was just holding the staff. The boy then realizes that she cannot see the screen, so he asks her to check her status. She remembers the status plate she had made when she entered the academy. Taking a plate, she is very surprised to see that her level has reached 5, unable to understand the other numbers. Shinobu asks if her skill value is 2 to 3 times higher than that of the inhabitants and says that it will be adjusted every time she levels up. She wants to know how she leveled up so much since he was the one who defeated the dragon, and he says it is thanks to the friendship necklace. Equipment causes experience points to be evenly shared among the team, but there is a limit to level increases. Thus, the points gained by a high-level player go to low-level players even without them fighting, balancing the power. Shinobu thinks about how he would use this whenever he invited friends to play Lvita, and the situation is the same. The young man imagines that it will not be difficult as long as he provides guidance, and supervision, thus creating disciples to become a force. Alice says she does not know much about the item but understands that he did everything for her, so she thanks him. A girl with long dark hair appears and says she thought a thief cat had followed Shinobu while he slept. She wishes the boy good morning, and Alice watches, thinking about how beautiful she is. The girl tells Alice that she was watching them and saw when Shinobu hugged her, so she became very jealous. Panicked, Alice tries to explain that it was because of the leveling, but the girl ignores her and asks Shinobu if he will hug her too. Finally, she says it was a joke because unfortunately there is a limit to what she can do. Shinobu understands that the age limit setting also applies to her. Meanwhile, Alice's mind spins as she tries to understand what the two of them are and even wonders if the girl could be his wife. But the girl Tsukiyomi is the level 6 summoned being just like Gabriel. Shinobu says that she arrived at the right time, and the summoned one says she will do anything he asks. The boy explains that you will give an amulet to Alice and asks if she understands, and Tsukiyomi wants to know if he wants her to watch over the girl from the shadows. She asks if Alice is important to him, to which the young man replies that the girl is his disciple. The two stare at each other, and then Tsukiyomi says she does not mind having to protect the girl. Holding Shinobu's chin, bringing their faces close together, She asks if it is a request or an order. A little nervous, he says it is a request, but that it will be fine if she does not want to do it. The woman says that he is strange because despite having so many women in the palace, he does not allow himself to be touched nor touch them, even though he could do things. Shinobu says he doesn't care about affection or loyalty, so he doesn't want to do anything. Alice is embarrassed as she watches the two. Tsukuyomi says she doesn't hate people like that and that she will accept the requests so the child can have them at Tsunotaisha Amulet. The boy finishes the training at Alice, who feels very tired. Shinobu says that she formed the pack and leveled up, doing a great job, and Alice asks about the next day's training. The mage questions the woman in front of him if she can answer, and she agrees. Then he explains that they will have a simulated battle with Gabriel, leaving Alice in shock. Shinobu says is the best way to train the body since this is how Lvita's inhabitants learn new abilities. He asks if she can do it, and confidently, she says it will be difficult, but she wants to get stronger. Alice says that Gabriel is very strong, and at that moment he notices that the Seraph is using a spear. The one responds that infidels must be defeated using physical techniques, leaving both of them shocked. But now, unconcerned, he says that's just how things will be. Shinobu has many beasts under his control in the castle, and they are masters in making the girl stronger. So he asks Alice to do her best, and happily the girl says yes while calling him master. The figure in black armor stands guard in the palace. Alice passes by him, wishing him a good morning as she does her morning run. The creature is the Gatekeeper, a guardian in full armor. Shinobu and Alice are in the kitchen and he is very happy to be eating curry. The girl says is a dish similar to one from her tribe and is glad that the young man liked it. The boy says she must be tired from running in the morning, but Alice denies it. The summoned beasts are around the table and Alice asks if they don't eat. Gabriel explains that they receive magical power from Shinobu, so eating is unnecessary. The mage asks if they can eat anyway, and she says they can feel hunger, but is not a problem since it is unnecessary. Alice asks about the swordsman at the gate, and Shinobu says that Kuroinu is the gatekeeper and has the magic eye of clairvoyance. Observing, the girl says he is a divine humanoid being, so he might also be hungry. The young man says that he is the type who will never leave the gate. Thinking deeply, Alice decides that she will bring food to the gatekeeper. Shinobu says she should ask it of maids, but the girl says that as someone of a low level, serving is usually what she does. But he is fine with it if that's what she wants to do. With a basket of food in hand, Alice politely asks if the big guy is hungry. With smoke coming from his eyes, he says it is not necessary. Scared, she explains that she knows they feel hunger, which is why she brought food, but he refuses and tells her not to speak to him or he will eliminate her. She apologizes and says she acted out of line by speaking to him, making him uncomfortable. Alice turns to leave, but the knight asks her to wait. He says he is not good at talking to women, leaving the girl very confused. The beast says that as a gatekeeper, he cannot stop to eat, so she should not speak to him. He explains that he is not uncomfortable with her, but is simply not used to conversations. The gatekeeper asks if she would laugh at him, and she says that despite him seeming very strong, he is actually surprising. Then he says that a long time ago, he had an experience where he was betrayed, so he feels comfortable being alone. Respectfully, the girl apologizes for bothering him. She was about to leave, but he asks her to wait again and questions whether she will throw the basket away, also wanting to know what she brought. Showing the basket, she says she brought curry sandwiches and many other things, and the gatekeeper surprises her by saying that he will accept it. The knight removes his helmet. The beast says he is on duty, but this is a special case. The two sit on the ground to eat what Alice brought. Noticing that she is watching him, the gatekeeper asks what she wants, and she responds that she is surprised that he removed his helmet. The girl asks several questions about what he thinks of the food and treats she brought. The knight tastes some of the curry and feels how spicy it is, and the girl wonders if Shinobu might not like spicy food. Alice assures him that next time she won't make spicy curry. As a request, the girl asks that he allow her to greet him whenever she passes the gate, since they will all be friends. But he says that they are not friends since he only considers those who have fought alongside him on a battlefield. And for that reason, he asks her to train hard so that one day she can fight by his side. The beast says that she can keep talking to him and that he prefers sweet food and will eat whenever she brings it. He returns to his post and puts his helmet back on. Alice finds the gatekeeper strange with the way he speaks. Meanwhile, from the palace, Shinobu watches as the girl returns. Gabriel asks if he would like to say something to Alice, but he denies it, saying that she is getting used to the castle. She says that the girl's training seems to be going well, but he says it's the opposite and that there is a problem. Explaining, he says that to become stronger, she needs to master more powerful magic, but the inhabitants do not learn simply by leveling up. And Gabriel says that to learn, one must have sufficient status to match the magic. The young man talks about the scroll, a special item with a written magic formula, explaining that the girl only deals with level 1 magic. None of them know about this item, so Alice needs to return to the magic school. The girl puts on her school uniform and leaves her room to meet Shinobu and Gabriel. Standing before them, she apologizes for making them wait. The girl is determined to return to learn techniques and search for the scrolls. Worried, Shinobu asks if she's okay to return to school. The girl remembers the bad things that happened to her. The young man says that if it is too painful, she does not have to go back and that you will think of other ways for her to learn magic. But she is determined and returns to that place to become stronger. At the academy, Alice walks among the girls, feeling a bit nervous due to her bad memories. One of the girls recognizes her. The girl seems surprised and confirms that Alice is alive. Beatrice explains that she heard rumors that Alice had suffered some incident during a summer break. Genuinely seeming concerned for the girl, Beatrice sheds a few tears. But then she suddenly surprises everyone by saying that the incompetent scum has neither skill nor luck. Beatrice says that she heard that the girl's hometown was completely destroyed. Another rumor she says she heard is that a survivor resembling Alice was sold as a slave in the market. Alice feels hurt by those words and by what others might have said about her. The girl accuses Alice of having lost her innocence to a filthy master and of fleeing to the academy because of it. Embarrassing a girl, Beatrice starts laughing, finding the whole story amusing. But Alice turns away to ignore her. Beatrice asks if she intends to submit a reinstatement request and if she thinks that is a good idea. And she adds that Alice is no longer homeless, so she wants to live in the dormitory. She will have food and clothing guaranteed. Beatrice grabs her staff and with level 1 magic, summons a fireball and fires it. The girl taunts Alice, saying that there will be a leveling test and that if she does not pass, she will not be able to take next year's course. And as a consequence, she will be expelled. Alice is on the ground while Beatrice laughs. Suddenly, Alice confirms to her that she really was sold and that many tried to take her innocence. Beatrice wants the girl to describe in detail how everything happened and even asks if the rumor about it happening in a pigsty is true. Alice surprises her by saying that she still has her innocence because everyone tried was scratched and kicked and no one wanted to buy her anymore. Trying to humiliate her further, Beatrice says that besides being incompetent, Alice is not even fit to be a slave for love. Alice says that her benefactor not only praised her, but also liked her personality, and to shut Beatrice up, she lets out a huge curse word. Beatrice's face is one of complete shock at those words. Trying to regain the upper hand in the argument, Beatrice once again calls Alice incompetent and mentions that she did not form a pact. Alice finally shows her staff, leaving Beatrice truly surprised for the first time. Just as Beatrice did with level 1 magic, Alice conjures a fireball and launches it at her, causing an explosion that knocks Beatrice to the ground. More confident, Alice calls her a little disgusting one and tells her to shut up. The girls are in the train field and Alice is determined to show her new abilities. One of the monitors explains the test, which requires them to position themselves in fire magic at a wooden dummy 10 meters away. Beatrice is confident that Alice will not pass the test since she failed to form a pact with the 4 great spirits. She also believes that the fireball Alice fired earlier must have been some kind of trick. She thinks Alice's intention is to show off to the professor and that she will definitely embarrass herself, making everyone laugh. Beatrice begins her test, firing 2 fireballs and destroying the wooden dummy. The girls watch the test are surprised and find incredible that she fired 2 fireballs. She boasts that she can even fire 7 fireballs and mocks Alice, claiming she used tricks to cheat. Everyone is shocked by this. Alice calls out to her and said that Beatrice took all her friends away and isolated her at school. Beatrice confesses, saying that just one word was enough to make everyone distance themselves. Beatrice asks if bringing up the past is for revenge, but Alice responds that she no longer cares. Remembering her past conversation with the Gatekeeper, Alice says that true companions are those who stay together in battle. The other girls call her crazy and even say that she lost her mind after becoming a slave. And Alice responds that she and Beatrice are fighting in different battlefields. With her staff, she conjures a fireball and hits the wooden dummy. Alice conjures more fireballs, striking the remaining dummies, leaving Beatrice embarrassed. The girl fires a powerful fireball, heat times stronger, impressing the other girls. Alice asks Beatrice if she can tell a fairy tale, confusing her. She explains that in the story there are people who can cast level 5 magic multiple times, and she can do it with level 1 magic, making it nothing special. Beatrice wants to know what she is talking about, but Alice counters, saying she wouldn't understand. Alice remembers what Shinobu told her about finding another way to learn and that she was talented. The proof was the beast she had made a pact with. With Beatrice lying on the ground in shock, Alice declares that she is no longer incompetent. Alice walks past her to submit her reinstatement license. In a mansion, 4 young boys are gathered with an older man. The man chooses one of the boys and orders him to come to his room later. The old man laughs, imagining that his night will be entertaining. Beatrice enters the room crying, calling for her father. The girl falls at his feet, complaining about Alice. She explains what happened and furious, but the commoners rebelled against the Heisen family. The man says extermination is necessary. Father and daughter begin planning an extermination operation. A man with pointed ears appears, surrounded by bats. The 2 are startled by his presence and Beatrice asks who he is. The man introduces himself as Vlad, the true ancestor of vampires, the being granted by a transmigrator 100 years ago. Beatrice's father asks what he is doing there and why he woke up at that moment. Vlad explains that due to the pact made with the family, he hides in their shadow and sensed a powerful presence. The vampire says that he felt the strong being near Beatrice, and the girl asks if it could be Alice. One of the boys is walking through the corridor listening to the three's conversation. The man tells Vlad that it is unnecessary for him to handle such a dull task, but the vampire insists. The boy watches through the slightly open door. Vlad says that he has been there many times to do tedious work and feels like he's only being used to clean up trash. The vampire moves quickly and attacks the boy, becoming completely covered in the red liquid dripping from his lifeless victim. He tells Beatrice to use her intelligence to make this battle happen, and terrified, the girl simply agrees. Elsewhere, the god Slayer watches everything from above. He says that the ancestral vampire is a fraud and wonders if something like that will even work against them. Then he says he senses a new presence beside Alice. A giant monster is standing next to a boy. The beast says that what they have been waiting for has finally arrived. From above, they observe a massive dragon. The boy says that the god Slayer's attempt to spread his seed has resulted in something even greater. Together, the three intend to defeat the transmigrator to become even stronger. The dragon approaches and is swiftly eliminated. The god Slayer is at level 98, the boy at level 92, and the four-armed beast at level 95, known as the Three Sages. And so the god Slayer plans to restore the world. Back at the castle, Alice and Gabrielle are training. The girl fires 6 fireballs at the Archangel, who easily deflects them with her spear. Gabrielle knocks Alice to the ground and points the sharp end of her spear at her. Shinobu says that Gabrielle is being Spartan and even thinks it's good for Alice to train her body while she can only use level 1 magic. He asks if the girl is okay, and she replies that she is, even though it is difficult, but she wants to continue to become stronger. The young man asks about the scroll, and Alice explains that they receive it at level 2. But it has been a long time since anyone obtained one. Benny asked about level 3, but she says she has no information, only that it requires another person and is difficult to learn because it needs a transmigrator. Thus, the weaker the inhabitant, the more transmigrators are required to learn it. The girl remembers her encounter with the god Slayer and how he told her to become stronger. Shinobu worries that the conversation made her recall something painful, but the girl says it's fine and Matt, despite wanting to, she cannot forget. The young man has a suspicion about the identity of the god Slayer. Alice says she is going to change clothes and bids farewell to both of them. The girl is back at the academy firing fireballs at wooden dummies, shocking the others. Students talk about Alice, mentioning how good her grades are and how cute she is, while one girl rebukes them, calling her a beast. One of the girls says she was happy that Alice defeated Beatrice. Beatrice, standing behind them, overhears and becomes even angrier at Alice. Alone, Alice walks through the outer area of the academy, thinking about how she hasn't found any information on the scroll. Beatrice appears in her path. Irritated, she asks Alice how it feels to be the best student in the school now. But the girl says she doesn't think it's a big deal and isn't even interested in it. Beatrice raises her staff. Alice asks if she wants to fight again using level 1 magic, but she denies it. She uses level 3 magic, causing a magic circle to appear beneath them. Beatrice asks if Alice is surprised, revealing that it is transfer magic. She explains that it is a trap, but the Heisen family put all their efforts into setting up, and that only destruction will remain. Alice closes her eyes due to the bright light, and when she opens them, she is in a different place. Smiling, Beatrice asks if the girl is trembling with fear, saying she is doing her best to hunt down little girls. Alice looks in the direction Beatrice indicated and sees Vlad and several lifeless bodies. Beatrice celebrates, telling the vampire that she's brought the prey. She asks what happened to the bodies, and he explains that they were A and B rank adventurers who were hunting him, as well as likely political enemies. Confident Beatrice says that he is a true supreme and invincible vampire and that this will be end of Alice. But instead of fear, the girl asks why such a being would be taking orders for humans and concludes that it must be due to a pact. The vampire says he has no interest in Alice but rather in the people hiding behind her. The girl blames herself for falling into the trap. The lifeless bodies on the ground rise and attempt to attack the girl. The creatures are restraining Alice. Vlad says that these are his zombies who underwent transformation after having all their fluids drained, and the same will happen to her. Beatrice says that is not enough and wants Alice alive to take her to the mansion and give her to her pet orc, which is in heat. Vlad calls her cruel and says he does not care what happens to humans. Beatrice laughs even more at the cruelty and begins calling Alice incompetent. Still held by the zombies, Alice calls for Shinobu's help. From her necklace, the guardian beast emerges and rips off Vlad's arm. Tsukuyomi says that calling her was a good decision rather than being eliminated out of sheer stubbornness. Vlad asks the beast for she is. Tsukuyomi introduces herself as one of the 3 great gods of the land of the rising sun, ruler of eternal darkness, and goddess of the moon. She finishes by declaring that this is the name of the one who will bring the vampire's end. Beatrice asks who the woman is and calls her an idiot for daring to go against the ancestral vampire. Without many words, Tsukuyomi says that Beatrice talks too much and slaps her, knocking out a tooth. Beatrice is terrified as she holds her nose, which is gushing red liquid. To humiliate her further, the woman calls Beatrice a loud, stupid pig since she believed a genuine ancestral vampire existed. She shocks everyone by saying that such an entity does not exist. Vlad insists that he is the true ancestral vampire. Tsukuyomi explains that the real ancestral vampire was the first person to become a blood demon and turn others. which is why there are many. She then asks Vlad if he is truly a vampire, why those he drained of vital fluids did not also turn into vampires. Vlad is shocked but actually thinks she is right about what she says. But Beatrice disagrees and asks why he is letting himself be dominated by this woman when he has been protecting the family for years. Tsukuyomi finds something suspicious and accesses Shinobu's archives, which can be used by his followers to a certain extent. She begins her search by looking up True Ancestor. The archives describe an artificial vampire created by an alchemist over a lifetime to surpass the original vampire. The first test's subject was a failure. Unable to admit his failure, the alchemist convinced himself that his creation was on the same level as the true ancestor. The failed project was named Prince Vlad and a false memory was implanted, making him believe he was the true ancestor. The data also states that the danger of a false vampire is that it transforms people into zombies, something that was once a mission during the game. Beatrice struggles to understand where the failed product is Vlad and Tsukuyomi confirms it, leaving the girl in shock. But Vlad feels satisfied that his life is finally coming to an end as he can no longer endure serving humans and living such a dull existence. Excited, he asks if that is why he met Tsukuyomi, calling her the goddess of death. Tsukuyomi is unresponsive to him, but Vlad wants to know if she will end his life, thrilled that he has finally found the perfect place to be eliminated. The one who finds him disgusting and tells him not to call her beloved goddess of death. Still eager for battle, he says that he knows he cannot defeat her, but will be happy to leave traces of his life as scars. Vlad's nails grow longer and sharper, resembling those of a great feline. He lunges at her and using level 3 magic, launches the power Dark Souls. The blast strikes Tsukuyomi, causing an explosion. He is shocked that she did not suffer him a scratch. The woman says that she is a supreme being, so there is no way a level 3 dark attribute lowered could affect her. He prepares to attack her again, pleading for her to free him from this prison of life on the battlefield. But the woman surprises him by saying that he has misunderstood everything, and asks if he truly thinks they are fighting. Confused, Vlad stops mid-attack. She says that she has not made a single counterattack and has only been on the defensive. The false vampire asks if she will not grant him the honorable end he desires. Tsukuyomi says she will give him what he wants, but because he picked a fight with Alice, she will not be the one to do it. Using level 5 magic, she casts Toy Box, making 8 coffins appear behind her. The coffins lead people to the underworld and were previously used to summon followers of darkness. This time, Tsukuyomi says she will use them to drag Vlad inside. The coffin opens and several skeletons emerge from the darkness. The woman says she is responding to his request and has ensured only weak level 1 creatures were summoned. She continues, telling him that he will be the strong one, but she does not know how long he will last fighting these creatures. The creatures grab the vampire, restraining him just as he had done to Alice. Desperate, Vlad begins to scream, begging her to stop and saying that the only way is for her to eliminate him, not let him rot in that place. The man asks why she is treating him this way, once again calling her beloved goddess of death. Tsukuyomi tells him not to call her that again and says it is disgusting. Vlad is dragged into the coffin, disappearing into another dimension. Mockingly, the woman says that kindness is not part of her personality. Meanwhile, Beatrice is lying on the ground, trembling with fear. Tsukuyomi turns around and calls Alice, telling her that she'd go home, but the girl is acting strangely. Suddenly, Alice explodes into a mass of flesh and fluid. A seal falls to the ground, revealing that she was a puppet. The woman thinks that the switch might have happened during the transfer and is surprised by a magic that does not exist in Lvita. She suspects it to be something of level 5 or 6. Alice is in an unknown place. She wonders where she is, and the god Slayer, along with the other 2, realizes that she is awakened. Alice recognizes the voice and prepares for a fight. The boy tells her that is a bad idea, and the god Slayer says that the real difference in strength lies in their purpose. A transmigrator. Not understanding, the girl asks what transmigrator is and what business he has with Shinobu, to which the man replies that he has many purposes and grudges. As a gift, he tells her that 100 years ago, people from outside the world appeared with overwhelming powers and hunted down the guardians of the entire world. These beings also marked areas to defeat monsters and level up, and because of this, the inhabitants became weak. But the man says this did not happen only in special cases like him and Neto too. Alice wants to know what they are, and in response, the God Slayer says they were once known as the Three Sages, the most powerful military force. The Three Sages were NPCs who appeared as mentors or powerful rivals to players, having the highest levels before the Great Update. The girl asks how they remain alive after 100 years. Finally, the beast speaks, saying that the power of immortality is common, and that they all play their roles in creating a wonderful world. Crying, he said that the transmigrators destroyed everything, eliminating his friends in their attempt to rule the world. Alice asks if his goal is revenge. The God Slayer says that is not all, and that the transmigrators suddenly arrived, using overwhelming power to dominate everything. After hearing all of this, Alice says that their goal might be noble, but the things they do are worse than what the transmigrators did. Angrily, she shouts that he eliminated her parents because of it. He simply confirms it and says that is the way to overcome the difference in levels, gaining points from those who hold grudges when they come for revenge. and because of that, their levels had increased over the past 100 years, surpassing level 90. The girl thinks about her destroyed city and how the world has suffered because of the transmigrators, but she believes Shinobu is different. Smiling, the boy says he is surprised that he managed to capture a transmigrator. Explaining further, he says that these beings do not appear in public except in special cases, such as a deserter. Alice is unsure what a deserter is. He explains that each of these beings belongs to a faction, but sometimes they can leave the deal and create their own faction. Then he asks if she knows what they do next. Piecing everything together, she realizes that they recruit people and that she was used as bait to lure Shinobu. The Godslayer smiles and admits that was the plan. He asks her to provide information about Shinobu, as the trio does not attack enemies without knowing it first. Alice searches for her amulet to call for help, but is not there. The name reveals that the protective beast amulet was placed on the decoy when the teleportation swap occurred. With that, the only solution she can think of is to say nothing that would put her master at a disadvantage, even if she's hurt. Already anticipating this, he says that the girl has a strong heart and would not reveal anything even on a torture. So he says that because of this, he will use magic to look directly into her mind. To protect her master, Alice says that dead girls cannot tell stories. He asks if she intends to eliminate herself. Walking to the edge of the cliff, she thinks that with this idea, she will not endanger Shinobu or anyone as an act. Provoking her, the boy asks if she is woman enough to do it. With her back turned, Alice throws herself off the cliff. The Godslayer calls her a stupid girl for thinking they cannot extract information from the dead. As she falls, the girl is shocked and Eva sheds a few tears, thinking that everything she is doing is in vain. Alice is caught by Shinobu, who is floating. The young man apologizes for being late. Finally, she opens her eyes. Shinobu apologizes again for the bad experience she had. The young man places the girl on the ground, making sure she's okay. Holding a powerful sword, Shinobu calls out to the trio, saying that the price for messing with his disciple is high. The hunter is surprised by Shinobu's unexpected arrival and says that the area they are in should have blocked detection magic for a few meters. But the boy says that no matter how many kilometers away his subordinates are, he can always know the coordinates of his allies after they are blocked. The man calls in a cheer. Gabriel and the knight who guards the palace are summoned, ready for the battlefield to St. Alice. Surprised, the girl asks the knight if they are friends, but even without a response, she smiles. With odd, Slayer observes his opponents, finding it unexpected to face a transmigrator so soon, especially one with allies. Finally, Shinobu discovers that the identity of the god Slayer is an NPC. The young man agrees that some things the transmigrators do are wrong, but the man burned down the village and sold Alice. Because of that, he does not agree with him and thinks the hunter deludes himself into believing he is a righteous avenger. It isn't joke. Ready for battle, Shinobu declares that he will cut the negative chain created by the transmigrators, starting with him. The trio chooses their opponents, the hunter against Shinobu, the beast against the knight, and the boy against Gabriel. With that, the man declares that his allies can do whatever they want, but the transmigrator is his alone. He charges at Shinobu, sending both of them falling off the cliff. The fight continues over the sea, and the young man uses his dagger to defend himself from the attacks. Shinobu notices how fast his opponent is and says that's why he has survived for 100 years, to which the man replies that this is just the beginning. You strike Shinobu in the kidneys. Even while fighting, Gabriel worries about her master, but the boy says that she is his opponent. Meanwhile, the knight fights against the four-armed monster, each of its arms wielding a sword. Back to the main battle, Shinobu cannot sense any movement or presence when he is attacked. This is because the hunter, using level 5 magic, teleports. He attacks the young man who defends himself, and Shinobu realizes that this will be a difficult fight, saying that the title of sage is wasted on this man. The hunter says that he has learned combat techniques specifically to fight transmigrators and that close combat suits him best. He also says that transmigrators rely too much on the power they were given, but Shinobu is unable to use his properly. Agreeing, the young man says that it is difficult for a summoner to fight in close combat. The hunter teleports again to attack the mage from behind, but Shinobu dodges the strike, grabbing his opponent's hand, surprising the hunter. He says that at close range he cannot miss, so he uses level 5 magic, activating minimal self-destruction power. A small luminous explosion occurs. With this attack, Shinobu loses almost half of his MP. The man says that was nothing and using level 3 magic, casts Stupor Recovery. Shinobu is very surprised. In another battle, Gabriel is wounded on the ground and the boy asks if healing magic was unnecessary. Provoking, the hunter says that his friend is stronger than Gabriel. Shinobu, worried, shouts for the Seraph and almost defeated. He says that she is sorry. A few minutes earlier in their battle, the boy says that he is the Red Sage, furious, and despite looking like a child, he is a supreme mage who uses all types of magic. Smiling fearlessly, he says it is a pleasure to meet her. He launches some magical explosions at her and charges in. Somehow, Gabriel manages to dodge and tries to strike him from behind with her spear. The tip of the weapon almost reaches his eye, but the boy surprises her by grounding the spear. Using level 3 magic, he activates Frozen Queen's power, freezing part of the seawater into a small iceberg. Gabriel steps on the ice to attack him, but she notices that her body becomes heavy every time she tries to use her spear against the sage. She suspects it is a mental interference spell and realizes she needs to act quickly to help Shinobu. Provoking her, the sage asks why she is hesitating and says that at this rate she cannot defeat him. The Archangel is caught off guard and magical chains bind her to the icy ground. He explains that he is not eternal and that he maintains his appearance by using red food in the blood of young women and children. With that, he says he wants Gabriel to become a part of him in this way. Approaching, he says that he will have fun with her and then dispose of her, reassuring her that he knows how to please a woman. The knight and the beast are also in a complicated and powerful battle. The four-armed monster attacks the knight, who falls to the ground wounded. The beast says that he must be rusty from not having decent opponents, but that the knight is no match for his six-sword style, and that only transmigrators can satisfy him. The knight's arms can't reach the beast, and he thinks that at this rate he might be defeated. Worried, Alice watches the fight. The four-armed beast says that the knight is insignificant compared to his friends and tells him to admit defeat, as he will soon rip him apart. The knight refuses, standing up and declaring that he came to save his friend. The beast says that he will recognize him as a warrior. Fearlessly, the knight charges forward. Back to the main battle, the hunter tells Shinobu that the fight has already been decided. The young man says that is expected from someone who levels up using dirty tricks. Shinobu says he wants to ask him something before being eliminated. The man asks if he has decided to accept his fate and finds him very understanding. The young man says that it is normal for a transmigrator to beg for their life when they are on the brink of death. Then he says he will answer, and Shinobu asks what makes the hunter's power different from that of the transmigrators. In response, the hunter says it is determination and refinement, and that Shinobu should understand, having witnessed his friends and the world being violated. Shinobu asks how they are able to learn magic, feeling that this is the key difference between them. The hunter says he learned in the Grand Library of Suki, and at the magical book there is alive. It can either devour human mind or grant powerful magic. Finally, he says that others have challenged it before and were consumed by the magical book. With a smile, the boy thanks him for providing such useful information, leaving the hunter confused. Activating his command screen, Shinobu says that the man gave away all the information too easily, and it is time to overcome difficulties. Not understanding, the sage asks what he is doing, and the young man responds that he is going to use the class skill orb. The orb glows in the young mage's hand. He removes the ability Divine Power Release. The knight's armor shatters, revealing his true identity. The beast is shot to see that he is actually a massive three-headed creature, the greatest guardian of the underworld, Cerberus. The red sage is also surprised to see Gabriel standing fully recovered. He attacks the Surat for the massive blaze of fire, but she uses her spear to turn the flames into smoke. Gabriel says it's a waste and with Shinobu's blessing, his magic no longer works. Desperate, he says he hasn't released all his power yet. Several tentacles appear around the sage, who says he never really wanted to use them because they make him look ugly, but now he has no choice. He then transforms into a gigantic kraken, but with a single punch, Gabriel bursts a part of his body. The monster screams in shock, saying that just a few minutes ago, she wasn't this strong. She responds that part of it is due to Shinobu's ability and takes the opportunity to mock him, saying he has become an old, ugly creature and an easy target. On Gabriel's profile, she is listed as the highest-ranked seraph among the 9, fanatically devoted to her master, with a hidden trait, show it aficionado. Desperate, the hunter asks what happened. Shinobu says he doesn't know exactly, but the hunter talks too much and asks what his NPC personality is. He also reveals that Alice told him the hunter was this type of person, so he put on an act. He laments that recovery items are only useful in emergencies. The hunter asks if Shinobu has been pretending to be weak this whole time. In response, the young man says he strategizes carefully and does acknowledge that the hunter is strong, but this will be the end for him. With the new update, summoners were put at a disadvantage, so a new skill was programmed to counter it. It increases all summoned creatures' stats by 1.7 times. The four-armed sage admits he had no idea he was competing against a monster. Cerberus grabs his sword with one of his jaws. The beast wonders if he should consider Cerberus a swordsman as the creature carries the blade and taunts him, saying, "Come at me. You will be massacred." With the sword in his grip, the wolf charges, launching an attack that shatters the four-armed beast's weapon, leaving him stunned. Meanwhile, what remains of the kraken has melted into a pile of flesh. Gabrielle prepares her next attack, and the sage begs her to wait. She tells him that he tried to eliminate Shinobu while disguised as a child, so he must now face divine judgment. Confused, he asks what divine judgment means, and in response, he receives a punch from Gabrielle. Even in another battle, the hunter is shaken upon seeing that all of his allies' HP and MP have been completely depleted. Mocking, Shinobu says that he has stronger allies than the sage. The man declares that if he defeats Shinobu, all his summons will disappear. He charges at Shinobu, who counters with a defensive strike. He is shocked by the sheer power and speed of a counterattack that asks if the young man had been faking his weakness all along. Denying it, the mage explains that part of the summoned creature's stats transferred him, and that he has also grown stronger through divine power release. Shocked, The man says that is ridiculous. Shinobu agrees, saying that it's an unfair mechanic, but it is his secret trick. Frustrated, the hunter charges at him with a fireball, sending it exploding towards Shinobu, who blocks it. He demands that the transmigrator not underestimate man. The man vows that he will restore the world to how it was before. Shinobu summons Bahamut, and from the rift, only the monster's arm emerges, striking the sage with a single devastating blow. The young man says that his goal does not matter because what he has done is no different from the inhumanity of the transmigrators. Black wings emerge from Shinobu. From where she is watching the battle, Alice can see Shinobu's magic circles as well as his summoned beings. The sage asks what that is. Using level 5 magic, Shinobu summons the roar of the divine flame dragon emperor. A powerful blast of energy surges toward the sage, exploding everything. Despite being on the verge of defeat, he still thinks about eliminating the transmigrators. Shinobu asks if he won't change his way of life. He refuses, saying that he has lost many things just as he has taken others to start anew. Saying a few words in another language, he makes another attack, declaring that he has no intention of giving up. He attempts to strike Shinobu from behind. Suddenly, he is struck by a spear thrown by Alice. The man is surprised by the girl's bold attack. She says that she knew he would fight to the end because the two of them are insane. Smiling, he collapses to the ground, affirming that they are indeed the same. Alice tells Shinobu that they did it, and as she cries, she remembers her parents and everyone in her village. Finally, she feels revenge for all those she lost. Shinobu places a hand on her head, telling her that it's okay. Alice cries even more as she embraces her master. Gabriel appears and asks Shinobu if there are any drop items from the bodies that she can use. One piece of equipment in particular catches his attention, so he uses his appraisal ability. The item is demonic eyes of the 3 sages created by them, capable of tracking transmigrators through soul wavelength up to level 20. Holding the tool in his hands, he analyzes it further, surprised that they were able to create such an item. He feels relieved since Megumi will soon enter this world and could have been easily tracked by them before her adoptive father. Then he says that with this item, he might have a chance to find his sister when she enters Lvita. With this, he feels he has made great progress. Now only a Yumo remains, and for that, he must become even stronger. Alice is back at the academy 2 weeks after everything that happened. Beatrix, now missing a tooth, says she doesn't mind letting Alice be her friend. Alice is in disbelief at what she just heard. With everyone aware of Lav's disappearance, the head of the Heisen family lost all support and was eliminated by a political enemy. The family fell into ruins overnight. Beatrice tries to offer peace between them as the memory of that day was erased by Shinobu. Alice says that it is a very generous offer, making Beatrice happy as she asks if they will be friends and what advantages that friendship will bring. But Alice rejects the offer, saying that she is sorry. Not believing it, Beatrice begs her to forget the past. Alice says that coming from someone who bullied her, she is surprised by Beatrice's words, but she cannot accept because she is leaving the academy. And Beatrice says that if Alice quits after gaining popularity, the new target of being labeled incompetent will be her. 2 other girls watch the interaction, and one of them says that Beatrice is just getting what she deserves. Alice bids her farewell, thanking her for everything she has done. Still in disbelief, Beatrice runs after her, asking her to wait. But there is no longer any reason for her to stay, as she has obtained the information about the 3 sages' scroll. They head to Emerald, a city surrounded by an enormous wall. Excitedly, Alice exclaims that their next goal is a fortress. The young man confirms, saying that the forbidden book is hidden in the Grand Library of Suke. The dungeons are controlled by the Adventurers Guild, which is why they are now in the Guild Sea. Since it is a large city, Shinobu hopes that he and Gabriel won't stand out, allowing them to blend in with the residents. Alice's ears twitch, picking up something as she tells Shinobu that she has a question out of curiosity. The young man says he is not surprised by her question. Turning around, they look at the small dog that has been following them. Then Shinobu explains that some summoned beasts are put at a disadvantage when divine power release is activated. Answering her curiosity, he says that the dog is Cerberus, and since he is inferior to Gabriel, this is his weakened form. The young man tells them to keep walking. Cerberus is grateful to Shinobu for explaining what happened, but he prefers that Alice not mention the shame of his current form. Enchanted by the knight's form, the girl kneels down and asks if he is hungry. Shinobu warns her that despite his form, Kuroinyu is still stronger than she is. They arrive at the headquarters of the Adventurers Guild to register. The place is filled with knights laughing and drinking. They try to go unnoticed, as someone calls out to Shinobu. A woman introduces herself, not as the master of the Adventurers Guild, but as something else entirely. She introduces herself as the master of the Dawn Brigade Guild, and Shinobu worries that this could be a bad situation. The young man and Gabriel prepare their weapons in case they need to fight, but the woman surprises them by saying his name and stating that he is surrounded only by other transmigrators. Shinobu says he didn't expect another transmigrator to attack him so directly. She says she is surprised to see him here. Surprising him even more, she reveals that he looks exactly as Ayumu described, making it easy to recognize him. Getting straight to the point, the mage asks what she wants. Mornan says that they were discussing what to do with him during the celestial meeting, and he asks what that is. Explaining, she says, it is the gathering of representatives from each guild and that his adoptive father is also a member. She says that Shinobu is the only transmigrator about whom no one has any information, making him a major topic of discussion in the meetings. And they concluded that you should be eliminated. The players are ready for any attack, and she says they have 5 people at level 99 and 7 above level 70. Then she asks Shinobu what he intends to do. He says that ordering his elimination the moment he's found is a disturbing story. Fortunately, he has a trick up his sleeve to get out of this situation. Shinobu tells her to drop the act and get to the point. Does she want to talk? She asks why he thinks that given that she just explained what was agreed upon in the meeting. Convinced, the young man says that if she really wanted to eliminate him, she could have done so without introducing herself or even setting up an ambush. The woman says that he is sharp and apologizes, saying she has no reason to draw her weapons. Shinobu says that's exactly what he thought, and she asks what he means by that. The woman tells Alice that when transmigrators meet, they can eliminate each other, and if Shinobu were peaceful, she would have protected him herself. She introduces herself as Koori Shinizuka, somewhat eccentric, and the only person in the celestial meeting who did not agree to eliminate Shinobu. She asks if he understands what that means. The young man responds with another question. Does it mean that she values him greatly? The guild master says that she wants him to join them, and surprised, Shinobu asks if she is trying to recruit him. Confirming, she talks about the advantages of guild missions that only members can participate in, as well as rewards, one of which is the logout ticket. Continuing, she says the ticket suggests a way to escape this world. She also guarantees a way to avoid Ayumu and offers a bonus, information about Mayumi, who is hospitalized with a brain injury. Shinobu grabs the woman's arm and demands that she explain how she knows about his sister's condition. With his sudden action, the fighters take combat stances. Remove Idu's hand from her arm. She tells him that if he wants to know more, he should go to her office. They are led to Koori's room, and one of the members asks them to wait while she retrieves documents about Megumi. Suddenly, a man speaks up, telling Shinobu that he doesn't like him. The young man asks who the hell he is. He introduces himself as Sato, one of the few level 99 numbers. The man says he disagrees with his master's decision to spare Shinobu as he believes the mage is too dangerous, but Shinobu simply says he doesn't want to fight. Sayo says that he once worked in the Patriotic Lion Guild, where Ayumu is the leader who surprises Shinobu, who already considered his father corrupt. The man confirms it, saying that Ayumu has an unlimited supply of paid items and that joining the Dawn Brigade will only make Shinobu more twisted. He acknowledges that accepting Shinobu has some advantages, but many others are dissatisfied with Koori's decision. So he asks him to decline the offer. But the young man smirks and says, "And if I say no?" Frustrated, the man says that Shinobu must have enjoyed defeating the natives, but that won't happen with the others. Sengo declares that if the young man does not comply, he will force him. As he tries to grab Shinobu, his arm is easily stopped. The mage grips his arm tightly, forcing the man to his knees and challenging him asks, "What's it you said you'd do to me?" Stega was shocked by the young man's strength. He did not expect this from a summoner. Shinobu thinks the man is unaware of the power in the next upgate and hopes is just ignorance because he does not like being underestimated. Insisting, the man says that if he continues, then he'll get serious. Excited, Kaori enters the room. Without understanding, the guild master asks what happened. Shinobu is calmly drinking his tea while Sato, feeling a bit awkward, simply responds that nothing happened. The one shows the young man a photo taken at the moment Mayumi was in Daisakujo Hospital in Tokyo. Impressed, he says that this is proof and wants to know how she obtained something that seemed to have been taken in the real world. She says that few people can talk about it, as only 5 great guild masters know about it. And Shinobu is surprised, but there is something she doesn't know. Continuing, she says that it is an incomprehensible existence considering the origin of the story. Kaori says that the photo came from Mikavami Tatsuya, the player who ranked first in Lvita online. She explains that he was a medical student and a national athlete in 3 different disciplines, giving him abilities beyond those of normal humans, and that apparently he was the fastest in collecting guild coins, thus obtaining the logout ticket. Shinobu tries to understand if this means he left the world and wants to know why he took the photo of Megumi. Kaori says that he doesn't understand anything about the premise and needs to explain the guild's mission first for him to get the ticket. In a special dungeon, Purgatory, a place between space and time, a young knight is lying on the ground, begging for more time. He speaks to Imabayashi Ayumu, who appears as an imposing figure, telling him not to be afraid. The man is accompanied by another player. The boy points to the creatures behind him and says they are a swarm of deadly ulis, whose elimination is instant. One of the monsters attacks, but Ayumu easily exterminates it. The man says that this is why he gave him the pendant to avoid instant elimination, reducing the probability by 99%. Desperate, the boy says that the probability is not 0. Ayulu says that if he avoids or attacks them first, there will be no problem, and he will gain experience points. The man says that it was the boy who wanted to join to level up and that all his friends are at level 99. The boy agrees but says that instant elimination is too much. and then he doesn't know about this leveling system, once again ask him to be forgiven. Smiling, Ayumu agrees to forgive him. Then the man who had been standing behind him walks up to the young boy and kicks him, causing him to fall into the abyss. The boy falls into the mouth of one of the monsters. The man says that he is the 5th player that year to be eliminated because of leveling. Ayumu defends himself, saying that it is the player's levels that have decreased. He says he didn't want to do it, but is the only way to train the low-level scum, and that's why he can't avoid it. Then he starts laughing. Kellery explains to Shinobu about the guild missions, which can be repeated and are available only to members, and that for now, they are theoretical, because they will only be added with the update, but they can only be done once upon registering with the guild. Shinobu says he knows about the missions and asks if the others know. The woman says that since he is not part of a guild, he doesn't know much. She shows the screen with the guild coin exchange shop, the various weapons on the list. The young man is surprised by this information as it is usually health recovery or event equipment. Kaori agrees that the rewards are strange. With this, Shinobu starts thinking, since at level 99 the power is equivalent to a weapon, and tries to understand the reasoning. She asks Shin to look at the notes on the substitution screen. He is shocked by the option to be taken back to the real world. Kaori asks Shinobu to look at the last page where the logout ticket is displayed. Explaining, she says that the previous note appeared around 100 years ago and was widely discussed as a condition to end the game. Shinobu says he finds the item suspicious and asks if she really believed in it. But she says that no one really believed it, which is why it took 6 months for the first murder to happen. He still doesn't understand since before the update, players could only receive the mission once and guild coins were always obtained. Shocked, he asks if players started killing each other because of the guild coins. She says that some thought that way, while others couldn't bring themselves to do it because they found it wrong. Kellery says that there are various types of players and no one knows if a loved one can die and come to this world or the risk of leaving a child alone. In a few words, she says that taking the life of an enemy as a resolution. The woman says that it took only half a year for them to adapt to the world and for players to start fighting for coins. 4 people were able to obtain the logout ticket. Kellery says that after a certain announcement, it was no longer necessary for them to fight among themselves, and over time, a possibility of returning home emerged. She shows the announcement of the major update, stating that as soon as Megumi enters the world, guild coins will be provided regularly. The woman says that she feels this entire announcement appears to be an incentive for more player eliminations. Thinking carefully, Shinobu mentions the management's intention of stealing the guild coins from players. Since it is natural to steal gold for the logout, the young man understands that they are being led to do so. Impressed, Kellery says that the mage is very quick to adapt and understand the cruel intention behind the new update. With that, the boy says that it's due to his experience living with Ayumu. The woman says that based on what she has, the great guilds are buying time, so she invites Shinobu to join the Dawn Brigade. In addition to protection from Ayumu, she also offers protection from other guilds as long as he hands over the guild coins to her in exchange. Shinobu says that this is almost like a threat, and she apologizes, explaining the advantages of being a guild. She talks more about the guild's proposal, which is to complete missions together with the purpose of collecting coins to leave Lvita. Curious, the young man asks if there would be any benefit for low-level players. Kellery says that she and the veteran members will wait until the last one returns to the real world, and that she has decided to stay in Lvita. She explains the reason behind her firm stance on protecting players, as her entire family were police officers, and she herself was a police officer in Japan. This makes Shinobu burst out laughing, saying that what she said is very persuasive. Kellery reminds him that whenever a natural disaster occurs, people are always evacuated first because they cannot return home without helping others. The two shake hands and make a deal. Back in a special dungeon, Purgatory, Ayumu is gathered with his friend. He says that whenever he does to collect the coins and obtain the logout ticket, the game will come to an end. They observe people trapped in a giant mass of flesh with several vein-like tubes attached to their bodies. Ayumu says that this is the appearance of people who disconnected from the game. The man is shocked, saying that none of that looks like being disconnected, and Ayumu asks him to look at a screen that appeared in the force field. On the screen, there is a notice about unimplemented areas and a location beyond the match boundaries. He is shocked by the entire false story about the tickets, but Ayumu remains unconcerned. Knowing everything, the man asks if this is the reason Ayumu has not left, even though he has enough points. But he simply says that he has not left because he loves the world of Lvita. Still curious, the man asks what is happening to the 3 trapped people. Explaining, he says that they have been unconscious for a long time, sometimes opening their eyes and screaming, always with an expression of fear. The man asks about the player who ranked first, but the only thing Ayumu knows is that he did not share the same fate, and that the only thing he received from the player was the key of Agartha, as a sign for him to seek more answers if he wanted to understand what was truly happening. Finally, Ayumu says that they need to get there before everyone else, and if anyone appears, he will kidnap and massacre their women. It is snowing in the city and Alice is only wearing a cloak and hood. The girl tells her master that she can still feel the cold in her hands and feet. The level 3 magic is adjusted. Shinobu says that if she wears any more clothing, it will limit her movements. The girl asks if Gabriel is cold, and the Archangel says that summoned beings have the advantage of not feeling changes. The Archangel takes the opportunity to ask Shinobu if it was a good idea to accept Kori's proposal. Responding, he says that he is pretending to trust her. After all, to use the guild's resources, he needs to be part of one. The young man says that he is in a guild to collect information, and although he trusts Kori, he cannot do the same with the other members. With that, he says that he intends to unlock the guild missions and then see how far he can go alone. Gabriel asks if it is possible to complete the mission alone, and the young man says that the two of them can handle it. He also says that he does not need to distribute the coins to the guild, as Kori seemed to doubt that he could complete the mission on his own. The Archangel apologizes for not believing in her master, and the young man smiles, saying that she can always speak her mind. Alice joins the conversation and praises Shinobu, saying that she thinks he is incredible. The young man says that it is dangerous to do whatever people command and that the same applies to her. Smiling, he says that she decides where to go, and that if one day he is wrong, she can stop him and follow the right path. Almost crying, Alice says that Shinobu is like a god and therefore never wrong, but the young man tells her that when she grows up, she will need to use her head. Very happy, she says that she will always believe in him, and with nothing much to do, the young man simply says that they must solve the monstrous danger. Clicking on the screen, he starts the Permafrost Flood mission and receives 1,000 guild coins for participating. Shinobu says that first there must be a selection test to participate in the monster hunt. They notice several players gathered, and Alice asks if that is the test. The girl says that everyone looks very strong, and one of them calls out to Shinobu, saying that he's bringing women and children to defeat monsters. Annoyed, the man says that it is because of people like Shinobu that adventurers are criticized, but the boy does not respond. With that, the player yells, demanding that he apologize on his knees for playing around with women. Tsukuyomi appears, landing a powerful punch on the man who is harassing her master. The one asks Shinobu when they should start eliminating, and the young man replies that he thinks she has already done it. The other players become irritated, asking Shinobu what hole he crawled out of. Owen appears on the scene, yelling for everyone to be quiet. The great sage Isabella descends the stairs to join them. She thanks everyone for being there but says that the quality does not seem very high. One of the men whispers that she is the Witch of the North who has lived for 400 years. Using Little 4 magic, she summons Furs and Edges and said that she's about to start the exam and that they need to destroy the ice statues. She says she does not care what skills they use and demonstrates by destroying one of her weapon. Explaining, she says that it is her magically enhanced melee attack and is the lowest requirement. Isabella says that this is the first test because the monsters from the northern reaches are fierce, and anyone who cannot pass the first test should give up. She sees that no one has quit and announces that knights and guild commanders will compete in separate slots. Tsukuyomi only says that Shinobu's existence is already well known, so he does not need to hide his abilities, for the mage agrees. With a single blow, Gabriel destroys one of the ice blocks. Using Level 5 magic, Tsukuyomi summons the toy box and confidently asks if making the statue disappear will be considered destruction. The statues vanish and Isabella is completely shocked, saying that he cannot use Level 5 magic. The players are surprised by the woman's panic and become frightened, wanting to know who this group is. Tsukuyomi twirls the hem of her dress, causing stones to fall. Isabella picks up a few and is stunned to see that they are magical stones from the Brown Devil. She says that is not all and also reveals the core of the Brown Alice, a superior species and the core of the ancient ice dragon. Smiling, Tsukuyomi says that it is a shame to take the exam and asks if Isabella has any complaints about their powers. Isabella simply says that everything is fine. Returning to her master, Tsukuyomi says that the woman seemed very arrogant, which made her want to intimidate her. Covering himself with his hood, Shinobu scolds her, saying that it was unnecessary, but she just laughs. In the administration room, the bot is gathered with the #1 player and asks if he is sure about what he's going to do. With a gesture, he confirms, and she activates the invasion events with a very high difficulty level. On a snow-covered mountain, the flower that announces despair blooms. They are accommodated in a luxurious room, and Shinobu attends to thank Isabella for it. The young man is pleased with Isabella's attitude despite all the confusion and understands that she is fascinated by his power. Because of that, they decided to join the monster hunting team, but Alice did not perform very well in her test, only managing to make a small crack. Unable to meet Isabella's expectations, the girl is only accepted as a servant, according to what Tsukuyomi said. The girl is depressed and Shinobu says that he does not know what to say to her at the moment. Tsukuyomi says that Shinobu is being too serious and that it does not suit him, and the young man replies that she is a free spirit because of the things she says. Before leave the room and gather in front of Isabella's mansion. Gabriel curiously asks if he has business with her since he joined the squad and fulfilled all the mission requirements. He says that he is interested in her abilities since she's a mage who has lived for 400 years. But Seraph tries to say that she does not think the woman is a strong person, But he says that there must be a reason she has lived all this time and that it is due to Kori's influence in the northern region. Shinobu says that it is not a matter of strength and that he wants to know if she is capable of helping him. At that moment, Isabella comes out and hears what he says, and Shinobu surprises her by asking her to teach him her technique. The young man asks her to teach the strengthening magic she used on her staff to destroy the ice. Isabella explains that magical enchantment is for unique technique to increase the physical power of weak magicians and that Shinobu does not need it. However, he says that the technique is for Alice and that his request is sudden and rude, but in return, he will help the city. That he asks her to teach Alice until the girl reaches a skill level that she recognizes. Alice asks Shinobu if he will no longer train her and if he intends to abandon her. Laughing awkwardly, the young man replies that he just realized that he is not suitable for teaching people. He explains that players cast magic just by remembering it, but the inhabitants need precise magical manipulation. The mage asks what Isabella thinks, and she says that Alice is already at her limit as a conjurer. The woman says that Alice has talent, but that beastmen are not suited for precise magic manipulation, and that they have roots as a hunter tribe living in forests and deserts. Alice says that among them, her family stands out in magic, unable to be like Shinobu. Crying, the girl says that she wants to become stronger. The young man embraces the girl and smiling says that she is his student. Finally, Isabella accepts training the girl and says that her training is intense. Alice's training is harsh, the physical exercises and book reading for gays. She returns from another day of training exhausted and tells Shinobu that she is going to take a bath. The young man realizes that she has reached her limit and asks Gabriel to help the girl. Alice takes the opportunity to enjoy a relaxing bath in the tub. Meanwhile, she thinks about how her training is making her stronger, but she still cannot reach level 3 magic. Nayuma scrolls. Remembering what Isabella said, she thinks that she does not feel good enough to stand by Shinobu's side. Without any clothes, Gabriel enters the bathroom embarrassed. Alice says she will leave, but the Archangel simply steps into the tub. Running the girl's back, Gabriel explains that Shinobu asked her to take care of her. Alice says that it reminds her of when she was found and rescued by Shinobu. Crying, the girl asks Gabriel if she is no longer worthy of standing by her master's side. The girl says that she's been trying hard to be useful to Shinobu, but feels like a burden for not becoming as strong as a beast, and that despite having achieved her revenge, she thinks she should return to the forest. But Gabriel says that the girl is strong and that she was once a fragile flame that only thought about revenge, but now she is a strong flame of loyalty. Gabriel says that she is strong because she is loyal to Shinobu, just as Alice is strong for the same reason. Alice says that is a very muscle-headed way of thinking. Laughing, the girl says that the woman is very funny, and not understanding, Gabriel asks if she said something funny. Content, the girl thanks her and says that she will do her best. Suddenly, all the lights go out and Alice offers to get some light, but Gabriel says it is dangerous. Alice says that she has good vision and hearing so she can see well even in the dark and asks the woman to wait. Shinobu arrives with a lantern and accidentally bumps into Alice, causing her fall to the ground. Seeing that the girl is without clothes, he covers his face with his hand and apologizes. The lights come back on, illuminating the house. Shinobu apologizes for the accident and says that he thought Alice was still in the bath. Smiling, the girl says that it is not a problem since he is her master. Confused, the young man asks what she means, but the girl simply returns to the bathroom to scrub Gabriel's back. Isabella is gathered with the master and is summoned, and Shinobu asks the Archangel to explain why they are all meeting there. The woman says that it is about Alice's special training and that although the girl has improved in hand-to-hand combat, her overall strength has not changed. Then Gabriel suggests a change and finally notices the girl holding a bow. When Alice fires an arrow, she hits her target, surprising her master. Gabriel explains that this is a distance one can perceive using magic. She says that the girl possesses excellent perception skills unique to beastfolk. Alice says that the bow is a specialty of her people. Gabriel says that arrows can easily be blocked with defensive magic and that their firepower does not match that of a long-range mage. But thinking carefully, the young man believes this could work. Surprising the girl, he says that he knows a way to make use of her abilities. Shinobu introduces the Barrett M82, antimatter rifle. He explains that it is a weapon from his world with destructive power at long range, and he plans to use magic to enhance it. A fierce bear is approaching rapidly. With her accurate aim and a single shot, Alice takes the beast down, making her a long-range, high-power magical sniper. Isabella is shocked by the weapon's power, seeing that it finished off a brown demon with just one shot. Alice asks Shinobu if it was a good idea to spend all of the guild coins on someone like her. The young man says that it is not a problem and that they will soon earn more when they complete commission. Grateful, the girl says that she will do her best. Starburus appears to join them and Shinobu says that they are almost ready for the guild mission to be complete. The day the large-scale subjugation begins. So to gather players, Isabella says that their lives will not be protected, so they must defend themselves. With that, she gives the signal for all units to advance and defeat the ice orcs. Each player charges at a beast. Shinobu watches the players eliminating the orcs and asks if they should join the battle as well. More monsters approach and the young mage heads into the fight. With just one strike, he eliminates his enemies, leaving the other players in shock. Another player, frustrated, says that they will not be able to achieve any accomplishments and regrets coming to the remote north. Gabrielle notices the Ice King alerts her master. As a powerful figure, Shinobu turns to face the mission's boss. The monster roars, declaring that Shinobu must be eliminated, but the young man, full of confidence, says that it is impossible for the Ice King to do so. An orc is chasing some players, but with a simple shot, Alice eliminates the monster with ease. She fires more shots, taking down multiple ice beasts, leaving the players terrified, unable to comprehend what just happened. Shinobu is sitting beside the Ice King, who will be effortlessly defeated, and confidently says that the beasts were the perfect opponents for them. Another orc charges in to attack the young man. Another shot takes down the monster, and Shinobu finishes his sentence by saying that they were practical for the girl's training. The players to celebrate the completion of the mission. A notification arrives announcing the end of the mission, the Great Permafrost Flood, and the distribution of guild points. Shinobu says that they can easily surpass this level and suggests returning to Korra's house. Another notification arrives and an avalanche begins, throw the players into a panic. Giant vines emerge from beneath the snow. Yet another alert appears, stating that in 10 hours the attack event will begin. A massive, terrifying plan emerges. Isabella is frightened and confused, and Shinobu explains that this is an assault event. The ancient flower, which came from space, spreads its roots and rapidly grows, using the life around it as nutrients. It also has accelerated growth, and 24 hours it has the potential to destroy humanity. Gabrielle asks her master what the plant is, and he simply replies that it is bad news. The attack event is one of Lvita's ultra-difficult missions, being an event that occurred after the game's launch. It is necessary to continuously strike the boss with attacks, and this event was introduced at the game's release, making Lavia popular. Shinobu uses his screen to communicate with Kaori and the others, but then receives a notification stating that the player limit is 1. Shinobu panics at the thought of facing the attack alone, and his group runs to avoid being struck by the powerful roots. The mage tells them to return to the city. The other players attempt to enter the city, but a barrier prevents them, with a message stating that entry is not possible during a mission. The players become desperate, fearing it will be eliminated by the plant. One of them blames Shinobu's summons for what's happening. The young man sits aware that the area was isolated at the beginning of the attack and he cannot communicate with the others. Alice is confused, not understanding what it all means. Shinobu asks them to forget about the orc and focus on the mission because the plant will continue growing and consuming everything around it. Frightened, the girl asks if it devours monsters, and the young man confirms, saying that it is growing while they speak. Isabella appears and says that the city is in chaos, asking Shinobu to lend his strength. He tells her to lead the army and protect the city at all costs. Bonin asks what he will do, and the mage responds that he will defeat the ancient flower's main body. Isabella is surprised, and the young man simply says that they will handle it. He summons Gabriel, Tsukuyomi, and Cerberus, who has returned to normal, and asks Alice to wait for him. The girl looks sad, but he tells her that she must protect the city, and that he is counting on her. Alice becomes very happy and says that she will protect everyone. A few hours later, the flower has grown even larger. Tsukuyomi asks what the plan is, and Shinobu says that for now, it will attack the roots in 20 seconds. He tells Gabriel to go all out and asks Cerberus to protect everyone with his ability. Tsukuyomi, however, says that he doesn't need to tell her because she already knows what to do. Proudly, he tells him to be ready. In the city, Alice is prepared with her weapon and Isabelle organizes her army. The attack event begins. Shinobu uses his flight ability. Each of them attacks the roots with the ancient flower. With level 5 magic, Gabriel uses holy nuclear bombardment, causing a massive explosion. The young mage uses the dimensional slash, striking the monster, but he realizes that the attack did not even decrease 1% of its HP. The flower begins to open, revealing its true form, and Gabriel asks, with Shinobu confirming that it is indeed the ancient flower. The flower's main body reveals itself. The ancient flower lets out a terrifying scream, and from its roots, absorbed beasts emerge, now even more monstrous. The young man shouts to Tsukuyomi, and the summoned warrior uses level 5 magic to create a wall of fire against the creatures. Before they split up, Shinobu had explained that the absorbed beings could overwhelm them in numbers, which is why they needed Tsukuyomi. With her undead summons, the woman can single-handedly contain the creatures created by the plant. Shinobu tells them to continue using powerful attacks. The mage receives a notification that the activated spell will be cancelled. The undead vanished and Tsukuyomi is puzzled, saying that she still has enough MP but cannot activate her magic. The monsters rush toward her, but Shinobu is faster and protects his summon. She apologizes for causing trouble, and he reassures her, saying that it is not her fault. The mage tries to activate his magic, but is blocked by an alert stating that summoning spells are restricted. Tsukuyomi asks what is happening. Frustrated, the young man shouts at the administrator, saying that he knows she's watching everything. Gabriel calls onto him, and Shinobu apologizes for losing his composure. He explains that someone may be tampering with the system, but confidently he says that he is used to nurse. In the city, the absorbed monsters are attacking with a significant advantage. A level 2 flame wall eliminates some monsters, saving the players. With her precise aim, Alice continues shooting down the monsters, leveling up. She runs out of ammunition, and Isabella praises her overwhelming power, but the girl simply says it is because of the weapon. Alice draws a firearm and announces that she will clear out the fleeing monsters. Isabella says that she is counting on the girl. A player is hiding in an alley thinking about Shinobu and his allies who defeated the monsters, and he resolves to try harder. Alice approaches and is startled when he suddenly draws his sword, not noticing the beast behind him. The man slices the creature in half. He is the same player who was beaten by Tsukuyomi during the exam and asked if she's okay, saying that he was ridiculed by them despite being rank A. Suspicious, the girl thanks him, but when she tries to stand, the player strikes her weapon, causing it to fall to the ground. Alice asks what he is doing, and irritated, the man asks if this is how she treats someone who saved her. Alice thinks to herself that there are no decent men in the world except for her master. She explains that she only grabbed the weapon because of the attack and asks what his goal is. With a malicious smile, the man demands her weapon. He says that he saw how she defeated the monsters and calls her selfish for not sharing her items. He picks up the weapon from the ground, aims it at Alice, and says that it is an item from a god and that Shinobu is likely one of the divine beings. With his finger on the trigger, he says that it irritates him. The girl says that the weapon can only be used by her, and as a consequence, the man kicks her. He says that the weapon is for her protection, so she must be important to Shinobu, claiming that women have it easy when it comes to getting things. The man also accuses her of winning over Shinobu by using her feminine attributes. On the ground, the girl defends her master and asks why he is doing this. He kicks her again and forcibly tries to strip her, saying that since he cannot pay items, you will have fun with her instead. Holding her down, he says that it is great that the girl has not yet lost her innocence. Alice remembers when Shinobu found her and when Gabriel told her that she is strong because of her loyalty to the mage. A cadaverous figure appears behind him, leaving him confused. With the distraction, the girl seizes the opportunity to break free and grab her weapon. Sensing danger, the man begs her to wait, claiming that he was only joking. Alice fires a single bullet that grazes his ear. The girl asks why they are always like this, using malice when they are in control. But when the tables turn, they beg for mercy. Pointing the weapon, the girl says that if he claims that he can do whatever he wants under the excuse of it being a joke, then she can do the same. She then shoots his arm, making him cry out, and the girl says that she pulled the trigger as a joke too. Crying, he pleads for mercy, and Alice says that she will not eliminate him because he has no conviction or beliefs, making him even worse than the other man she had killed. The man asks if he will be forgiven, and she says yes. Monsters approach and attack him, making Alice laugh as she says that, in the end, only she forgave him. The quartet defends themselves against the vines. Shinobu barely dodges one. He is nearly struck by another vine, but luckily, his might defends him, and the slash causes the ancient flower to scream in pain. Cerberus' role is to beat her shield, balancing firepower and durability, but Shinobu understands that there are limits. He thinks about his original plan, which relied on a short battle using Tsukuyomi's summon technique, but now it has turned into a soul of fight. Apologizing, the mage gathers their attention and admits that his assessment was too naive, and that this is not the time to be stingy. Clicking on his screen, he uses the Healing Orb, a salvation item and a source of security for someone as cautious as him. With level 3 magic, he activates Fury Elf Destruction, intending to use as many as possible. The ancient flower screeches in rage at the attack and lashes out one of its tentacles, wounding Shinobu, but he repeatedly activates his power to strike the monster. The attacks had a significant effect, making the beast stop moving, and Shinobu feels relieved that it worked. However, it only reduced part of its HP, and the monster reveals its second form. Shinobu has only 30 healing orbs left and realizes that it will not be enough. The young man hesitates, considering whether to change his approach. Gabrielle calls out to him and asks her master to allow her to perform her final service. The young man shouts, begging her not to do as she intends. One of Lvita's systems allows the exchange of items for new abilities in small portions, and this can also be done with summoning beasts. Gabrielle's ability allows for total elimination of the enemy using level 6 magic, Final Judgment. The instant elimination effect does not work on bosses, but it will drastically reduce the plant's HP. This leaves the young man torn because using it will make Gabrielle disappear. However, if he is eliminated, he will not be able to save his sister. A notification arrives informing him that he has leveled up and that a recovery orb has been sent to his gift box. Checking the system, the mage is surprised as leveling up should not have been possible. With 16 more orbs, he wonders if it is possible to lower the monster's EP further. The beast attacks again, striking both him and Gabrielle. The young man shouts at the Archangel, demanding that she not use the self-destruction technique, determined that they will see this through to the end. Gabrielle agrees with her master and resumes fighting the ancient flower. She and the other summons continue cutting down the roots. Shinobu and his summoned allies prepare for the final attack. Shinobu activates self-destruction 46 times, dealing significant damage to the creature. As a final blow, he punches the monster, finally finishing off the ancient flower. Then the announcement comes that the attack event has ended. Collapsed on the ground, exhausted, Shinobu is relieved that they have won. A notification appears on his screen, stating that no rewards were obtained because he had received them in advance from the observer TM. Confused, the young man tries to understand, repeating what is written in the notification. Shinobu thinks that if he had not leveled up, he would not have received the orbs and would have lost, but instead, he received the exact amount needed to win. He thinks that this is too convenient and suspects that it was an operation by the management, trying to understand their motives. The mage also wants to know who the observer is. Closing his eyes, exhausted and unable to move for now, the young man decides not to think about it. The administrator asks the number 1 player if what they did was acceptable, and he agrees since there are no orbs left. He says that they successfully confiscated the illegal items. The bot states that the game must be fair and impartial. Smiling, the man asks if she liked his little touch. She says she has no comments on that. With reasoning, the man says that he believes he created a truly intense life or death battle and that it cannot end without some repercussions. Laughing, he says that next is a penalty for the player who broke the rules, and as the observer, he will administer the punishment. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time.